Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to the world's first Windows 365 user group, at least there in the US. We also had similar user groups being presented this week. Asia was yesterday, and I believe in Europe was on Tuesday. So a user group or a SIG, specialistic group, where like-minded people come together and share best practices, get together and geek out. Uh, by the way, my name is Trond Haavarstein. I have the pleasure of welcoming you today to this event. And I remember like 18 years ago, a good friend of mine started the world's first secret user group in Norway, like 18 years ago. And if we now fast forward, as you know, we have a special instance group for whatever type of vendor in the EUC space in each and every state in the US and each and every country in Europe and other places in the world that have regular meetups, that being, once per quarter or twice a year. It all depends on, the demand and so on. But I do remember when Christiaan was working with the Azure virtual desktop, they had, they started out, they had a masterclass, and the first one there was a couple of hundred users. The second one there was like 1,000 users. I was like, whoa! I was blown away because I do a lot of webinar myself, and getting 1,000 people on board is pretty hard. And the next time they had a masterclass on AWS Azure virtual desktop, there was 10,000 people signing up for that event. So it's gonna blow up. I think Windows 365 is the future, and I'm going to share more about that. I'm going to share about my few best practices. So we now have the introduction. This webinar is being recorded, so if you're watching it now or watch it later, share with friends and colleagues. Straight after me, we're going to have a latest news section by Christiaan. Then I'm going to do my few best practices, and then Christiaan is going to do a roadmap deep dive, and then at the end we're going to have Juan Sifuentes going to do architecture and management design options. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Christiaan.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And the schedule will be a little bit different. So I will be doing the roadmap deep dive together with the latest news because I incorporated the features as well as the demos all in one session. So you will be after me, Eric, and then Juan can just do his session after that one. So great intro, and it really represents sort of the community mindset as well as what you can see when a community starts small and as well grows to a bigger kind of audience. And Windows 365 is a new service, and that means that a new service needs a new community. And therefore, it's very important to create a community in the US and as well the European region, as well as in the Asia region, to make sure that like-minded people, IT consultants, and people that are implementing Windows 365 have a group of people, like people that are interested in learning the same thing to connect with, and that's exactly where this user group is all about. So right now, I will walk you through the different updates of Windows 365. So what is the latest news? What we just released, what is coming next, and what are the new features in terms of Windows integration features we released as well. So just for the sake of clarity, I'm working in the Windows 365 engineering team. So I'm owning a couple of features, such as the Windows integration features that I will just present in just a bit, and as well community and anything related to the MVP program of Windows 365. I'm involved there. So if you are interested in presenting at an event like this, so you want to excel or blog more or things like that, and you have interest in becoming an MVP, let me know as well. I can help, and some of the other folks on the team here can help as well to make sure you get the right like coaching and feedback on what to do to accelerate in your kind of career moving forward from the community side. So let's share a little bit about the latest news, the latest new features as part of Windows 365. So on this list, you see all the latest new features that we presented like earlier to customers and already shipped into the product. And if you are seeing some features here and in the next slide that are not represented and you need a couple of those features in your environment, you can report them via the ak.ms/W365 feedback link. And from there, you can report your feedback. And we see that directly into the system and can reprioritize some of the features we have. So please let them know to us so we know exactly what to do in order to prioritize the features that we ship for our customers. So on the left side, you see first bucket, Windows 365 web client. The web client is our, the word is saying it already, the web client, but an improved version that creates faster load time, higher performance and reliability, meaning that when you click on the Cloud PC icon, and the moment you see your session, your Windows 11 or Windows 10 machine, that's just a matter of seconds. And previously that was like more connection kind of initialization kind of time frame that you needed to wait in order to see the screen. And right now it's just a snap and you see it instantly. The other thing is local resource settings like redirection of local resources, USB redirection, and things like that. USB redirection is not supported for the web client, but I mean the redirection of, for example, the audio and microphone and clipboard redirection that you can disable and enable via the web client, as well as while you're inside the session. You can edit those settings as well as accessibility improvements for the keyboard layout. So if you have like the Netherlands or Germany or any other language, Latin America, as a keyboard layout, which is a little bit different than a US international, you can change that during your logon phase and then edit it later on as well, and it will stick and keep that keyboard layout setting in place as well while you're working in your Cloud PC. So lots of improvements there. And another great thing is that you can bookmark Cloud PCs now as well. So if you have multiple Cloud PCs, you can bookmark one and make sure that that one is the favorite one in your environment. So native Azure AD is now supported too. So Azure AD join, you can go completely cloud agnostic, meaning no need for an Active Directory controller, domain controller, and such. So way easier to kick the tires and spin up a Cloud PC. In a matter of 10-15 minutes, you can spin up a Cloud PC environment with native Azure AD join, because the VM objects and everything that belongs to that is hosted in the Microsoft managed environment as a SaaS solution that we offer. So that's great milestone. Windows 11 experiences, meaning we support VTPM and all those Windows 11 hardware floor requirements in the Cloud PC, meaning you can log on to Cloud PC running Windows 11 from any device, even it doesn't have any hardware floor requirements that you need for Windows 11. Windows 11 images, of course, are now integrated into the gallery, meaning that from within the gallery, you can use Windows 10 and Windows 11 images that we maintain and update and keep updated with the latest Microsoft 365 apps integrated directly inside that image. So really easy to get up to speed and have the Office apps and everything in place while you log on for the first time. And security baselines are another easy way to secure your Cloud PC environment. And we have policies, profiles in place specifically for Cloud PCs that are optimized for virtualized environments that support Windows 10 and Windows 11 as well. And then on the right side, we have a great complete list of features that we shipped for better configuration possibilities inside the license, as well as management capabilities for an IT admin as well as for the end user. So nested virtualization support is something we shipped three weeks ago, meaning that you now can run Hyper-V, WSA, so Windows Subsystem for Linux, Android, as well as Sandbox and Docker as applications that are dependent on nested virtualization in the VM, meaning that you can now run Hyper-V, different virtual machines inside a cloud PC as well. Just for developer use cases and such, it makes the 8-core license way more interested for different kind of scenarios as well, on top of what we already supported before. Point-in-time restore means that you can restore a cloud PC back and forth, back, not forward, of course, to a previous point in time, where if you broke something in your cloud PC, you can go back and restore the data from like a snapshot of 7 days back. So that's now supported in both the IT admin portal of MEM, as well as the end user can do it from the web portal experience we support. We have improvements in the business product. Windows 365 Business now supports the creation or the change, basically, of making a user standard or local administrator, or you can change the operating system version that's being used. For example, Windows 10 or Windows 11 as a default is something you can change right now. So all kinds of capabilities we will add as well to the business product to make it easy, as well as more custom for an end user or an IT admin to make the cloud PC more custom in terms of operating system and rights configuration to configure for the end user. And Microsoft 365 Lighthouse support means that we now support multi-tenancy management from within one single pane of glass, which is the Microsoft 365 Lighthouse portal. It's GA now since March, and what you can do there is, if you are a partner and you have multiple customers that you manage all at once, you can go into the Lighthouse portal and see all their cloud PCs from their organization at one pane of glass and manage them from there as well. So that's all great. So what do we have in store for the future? What's coming up soon? So let me show you some of the roadmap items we have and already made public to the outside world, and there is more coming, but I cannot share that right now because it's NDA information. But the most important things to highlight here is that we work on GovCloud support, so that's coming later this calendar year. Azure AD Join will support single sign-on. We will support reset for the Windows 365 business and as well enterprise product for an end user to reset their cloud PC from the end user experience portals like the web portal and as well the Windows 365 app that is coming soon. So underneath that, you see 4 different new things, new features that we have been presenting 3 weeks ago during the Windows commercial event that Panos Panay and Satya Nadella have presented. And in that event, they shared 4 key features that will bring Windows 365 into Windows 11. So Windows 365 app is an application natively for Windows 365 with all the experience that you're familiar with for Windows 365 incorporated inside the Windows 11 operating system. The same for Switch and Boot and Offline are all Windows 11 shell integrations. Switch will make it possible to switch between your local PC and your cloud PC just directly from the Windows 11 shell. Boot will be an experience that is new, which you are familiar with because it's likely the same experience as logging onto a local PC. However, when you type in your credentials or you're getting recognized by Windows Hello, you log straight into your cloud PC. So it's boot to a cloud PC directly without a local presence of a local PC. And offline mode means is that you can switch from working in a cloud PC to an offline cloud PC. And if your connection recovers, you synchronize the state of your local PC back to your cloud PC. So I have some demos on that, so I will show you how that looks and feels in just a bit. Then we have monitoring improvements coming up. For Windows 365 Enterprise, we have Endpoint Analytics, which is an built-in monitoring solution that we leverage for cloud PCs to manage latency, performance, all those capabilities you need to make sure that your end user experience remains at a good state and shape. So that's built into the license, so you don't need to add an extra cost or license or use log analytics for that. It's just part of the Windows 365 license. And we are building on top of endpoint analytics new dashboards which you can use to do alerting of certain actions in your environment. So for example, if your connection breaks of your VPN, it will send a message to the IT admin saying, hey, there's something wrong in your environment. Please check what's going on. And that is something that's coming up very soon and will be an add-on to endpoint analytics. And you just get that shipped into the Windows 365 enterprise product. And on the right side, you see some security enhancements. So Secure Boot will be auto-enabled soon in the Cloud PC. Point-in-time restore is already available, but will GA pretty soon. So you can restore back and then you have that data back in your Cloud PC as a restore point. E-discovery is something that's coming up, so you can take the VHD and hand it over for forensic analysis for investigation. So a highly asked feature for large organizations or governments and things like that. Disk encryption improvements are coming and resize improvements as well, meaning that you can resize a Cloud PC up and down, as well as changing the size of the operating system disk. So are there any questions on this specifically? Otherwise, I jump just directly into the demos here. So what I really would like to show is a couple of demos around the Windows 365 app switch, boot, and offline experience. So here you see the Windows 365 app. And what is unique about the Windows 365 app is that it will come from within Windows 11. So in Windows 11, you will see Windows 365 as an app popping up in the near-term future. And here you see that app experience, the first run experience with what Windows 365 is and what are the features that you can use as part of the app. And the switch experience will be highlighted here as well. And then in that client, you see the end user experience. So the end user capabilities like reset, restore, and resize, and all those features that you can use to maintain and manage that environment yourself, the Cloud PC that you own yourself. And then once you're logged on, you can continue where you left off and use Excel just from a virtual session. So then we have Windows 365 Switch. And from Windows 365 Switch, you can switch between your Cloud PC on the right side. So from your local PC running Windows 11, and then it connects directly to your Cloud PC. And then from within the Cloud PC, you can go to the same task view button that you can see here. And then you switch back to your local PC. So you can switch between local PC, like aspects of working in like, let's say you play a game like Age of Empires and you have that on your personal PC and you want to switch to a corporate PC just in a snap. You can open that task view feature and then switch to your Cloud PC and then do a round-tripping experience just back and forward easily, as you could see in this experience. And that creates great opportunities for bring your own device as a use case moving forward, where you have your personal data on your local PC and your corporate data and your corporate apps in your Cloud PC environment. So then there's another new feature coming up, which is Windows 365 Boot. And with Windows 365 Boot, you boot into Windows 11 PC, but the local shell, the local PC is not there because it's a cloud edition of Windows where you can log on, just like you can see here, straight in your Cloud PC. So you're not logging on to your local PC, but to your Cloud PC. And that creates a very large use case for customers that want to have a lighter weight device or just a purpose-built device that they want to take with them and have that for a cheaper cost, or have a tablet that they can plug into a screen and then use it as sort of a combined effort. All kinds of capabilities are possible with this operating system, but nothing is completely defined how OEMs and partners will define their hardware based on this operating system experience. So that's something we are currently working on, and once that is public information, we will share that as well. Then we have, is there a question or not on this one? Otherwise, I move forward to the offline experience. And the offline experience is unique, and it's a more future-looking demo. And this demo will show how it will look if you're on a Cloud PC working on, for example, an airport, and you board a plane and you lose connection. Then the Cloud PC will show, hey, your internet is not working anymore. Do you want to work offline? And at that time, the synchronization of the cloud PC that always happens on the background will go from a local to an active state instead of the cloud PC. And you continue working in your Excel sheet. And then once you're back on your destination and you have your internet connection back online, you get the same question, and then you switch to your cloud PC, and the state of that local PC instance that replicates back and forth will be back in a good shape to make your cloud PC back to primary, and then you're good to go to work again from your cloud PC. So this is an unique experience, and we can deliver that because we own the operating system from the end up to the cloud bits and pieces that we use on the Azure platform as well. So I hope that sort of inspired you and gave you a good kind of look up on what we are working on and what's coming next, and especially those Windows features really resonated with customers. And I'm not sure if people have seen the Microsoft earnings call that was coming up like yesterday or the day before yesterday. You really could see that the earnings call and the reflection of those features really made sense to the audience as well as our CEO Satya Nadella. So that's just great to see happening. And yeah, with that, I would like to open up for some questions, and otherwise I can hand it over to Eric to continue with his session. Is there any question for me? Okay, see Brian, your hand up, so go ahead.
Hey Christian, love the demos as always. Thank you so much. My question is around that offline scenario, get on a plane or whatever. Are you guys contemplating this, that initially it would be limited to synchronizing work I did on, like, for example, Office related documents, or what about non-Microsoft related documents that I may work on while on a flight? How are you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as I said, the demo is really future looking, and there are aspects in working offline that can be considered as a first state of working offline. So that could be, for example, Microsoft applications. But what you saw in the demo is really where we want to be, is the full estate of the cloud PC back to a local PC. So that means that corporate applications and such that are working in a cloud PC that are not Microsoft owned will synchronize as well back and forth. As a part in between, it could be something with Microsoft 365 apps or something else to start with, but that's not defined yet. So nothing to share on that specifically. But happy to take it offline at some point with you as well. So thanks for that question.
Great. Thanks, Christian.
Any more questions? Okay, then over to you, Eric. Looking forward to your best practices session.
Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen. I'm not a Teams guy, but can you see my slides?
Yes, I can see it at least.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So, hi everyone. My name is Trond Haavarstein. Just go by Eric. I'm working as a Chief Automation Officer, and everything I do is automation. That's the way it goes. I've been awarded for most of the EUC products that we have. I've been in the industry since, Windows 3.11 with WinFrame. So I've been doing this kind of tech since forever. So, this kind of working from home is nothing new to me. So what I'm going to share with you today is kind of the thing that we've been going through lately. I'm lucky to be working together with my boss, MVP Adam Gross. For those of you who have ever heard the word iTunes, knows about Adam's Intune training. So we are working together, and basically what we're doing is that we are moving away from their current SCCM shop to the new Intune. So it's a digital transformation project. We have like 1,500 apps that needs to be moved, and we are a Citrix shop. So Citrix has always been the way that the workers have been connecting in to the environment. But luckily for us, Microsoft released Windows 365, which is a persistent solution that integrates perfectly with Intune. That's the reason why I think that Windows 365 Enterprise, it's the thing going forward. It's what happened for Exchange back in the days. Now it's O365 or M365 for everyone, and I believe that the same is going to happen now with Windows 365 and the Intune integration. Just a disclaimer, this session is going to be highly focused on the Enterprise Edition, which has the support for Intune. So we are, as I said, we are a Citrix shop, but we are using Windows 365 to be able to natively test the application as if we were Azure joined only, since we now have that feature in preview, which means that we are completely isolated, like whatever autopilot device, wherever it is in the world. So we can just do the regular autopilot and off we go from there. So I'm going to share what we've been doing. I'm going to share scripts. I'm going to share some best practices and so on. So as I said, automation. So I have a good quote here from a good friend of mine, Aaron Parker. For those of you who have been involved with Evergreen scripts, which has been written by Aaron Parker and contributed by me and some other folks. So as Aaron said, deploying and managing Windows PC, AWD, and Windows 365, etc., requires that application are kept current to protect an organization from malware or attackers. So as we know, there has been a lot of attacks recently, and it's just going to grow. Most organizations will fail to achieve this goal if they are manually packaging and updating applications. Today's applications environment moves far too quickly to keep pace. A solution to automatically package application is part of the answer. So, as I said, I'm 100% automation. A couple of years ago, I traveled around Europe and US doing 5-day masterclasses all on automation, showing, big enterprises how you could leverage automation to make sure that, you have, infrastructure as code, building applications consistently. So this is very important because, we all have fat fingers. It's, it can go wrong. And if it goes wrong, it could break, break a lot of stuff. But if you follow the same workflow and you have some kind of consistency of creating the apps, then the risk of something breaking is much, much lower. I would say, you will reduce the risk by 90%. And I'm going to show this in a demo. I have scripts, I have examples. You can go to my blog afterwards, which will, give you the basics to get started to automate application creation. Because I believe that creating application manually, uploading them to the Intune portal is just the wrong way of doing it. So that is especially for your line of business apps. So SAP, Adobe, all those kind of stuff that you cannot find easily available on the internet as say. So for that, third-party patching. There's a lot of tools that can help you with automating this kind of stuff. We have Patch by PC, which is the most common, well-known. We have PDQ. We have our Evergreen script. We have Chocolatey, and so on and so on. And the thing is that now with all these kind of zero-day attacks and vulnerabilities, we often see 2, 3, or 4 updates of Google Chrome, Edge, Adobe, and so on each and every month. So even if you have this automated, as I showed you in the first slide, it takes a lot of time. And this is what we've been doing in our project, is that we went with Patch My PC, and there are more and more applications becoming available in Patch My PC, which means that those apps that I used to do, they are being offloaded. So, you know, they just Global Protect just showed up here a couple of weeks ago, and off it goes. I don't have that application more on my plate, so I don't have to worry about that, because that is automatically handled by a third-party patching tool. So a lot of big enterprises are using these kind of solutions to offload the work on IT, and also make sure that, you know, it's going. And we recently rolled this out. So we used to have patching from Patch My PC integrated in SCCM, and I think it was like 2 weeks ago we flipped the trigger. So all the updates is now coming from Intune, and we're just blown away by the results. So the stats that we're seeing, the failures are really low, and the failures that we did see was basically because the computers was running out of space. So it was like multi-user devices, which has like 15, 20 Outlook profiles with, you know, 250 gigs of this just went away. So when we get rid of that, you know, our stats they just shine, and it's so easy for management to just go into the portal and have a look at the stats and, you know, get what kind of stats they want. Now, depending on where you are coming from and where you're going, especially if you are migrating for something that you already have, there's a big chance that you are running Office 365 as a 32-bit version. So we are going down this journey now. We're getting more and more requests for 64-bit. But the thing is that since we have a lot of plugins, we need to test this properly, right? So what this slide is saying, don't use the line of business app that you have in Intune. Create a Windows 32 app instead. There's a lot of issues currently with LOP during autopilot, so that will break it. So instead, you should be using a Windows 32 app with the Office Deployment Toolkit and with an XML file. I'm going to show that as well later. So if you're so lucky that you're going straight to 64-bit, then you'll just use the image gallery with Office 365 64-bit. But if you are going with X32, then you will create that one. And a cool thing here is that I think it's like 2 years ago, there were some new features integrated for the XML file, which basically says that add version equals match install, which means that if I have Office 365 installed and then I install a project device, it's going to use the same version that's already installed in the operation system. If you don't add that version equal match install, what happens is that when you install install Visio, whatever version, it will just go out to the internet at the CDN, and then it will upgrade everything to the latest version. And another cool feature is the migrate equals true, which means that today you can, you roll out 32-bit, and then later on you can do another application where you set the migrate equals true, which means that it will automatically uninstall and then uninstall and then install the 64-bit version of every product that you have installed. So that being Office 365, Visio project, language packs, and so on and so on. It's basically going to rip out 32-bit and replace it with 64-bit. Another thing which is very important in terms of automation is to forgot to start my timer here, but so have a consistent naming standard. So this helps us simplify automation. Excuse me?
No, I was just saying you're good on time, Eric. You can continue.
Yeah. Okay. So this simplifies the automation, because if we have, so what we're using SWs, which is the software, and then we have vendor product. And by following this naming standard consistently, it's very easy for us to, rip something out or replacing something, because based on the name of the product that we're installing, we already know the vendor and the product. So we could say, okay, we have this software group, which is an AD group, but then we could just add a AD group, that being an Azure AD group, and then we can mix and match those. You also have to decide on the vendor, and I would recommend just going with the vendor as we know it. So use Microsoft instead of Microsoft Corporation, use Citrix instead of Citrix System Inc., and so on and so on. And the reason for that is that if you are running in a hybrid environment, you have a limitation of the number of characters in AD. So I think it's 254. So if you are using, if you're using software, Microsoft Corporation - Microsoft SQL Server Studio, it's going to be very long and it's going to break. So what we are doing is that we're using the vendor, and then we are ripping out the vendor from the product name. So even the best practice is to use whatever you have in admin programs, but it just looks strange. And not everybody is agreeing with me, but I'm, if I, for example, are publishing Bloomberg Terminal, that would just show as terminal in Intune. But the thing is that since we're using icons now, it's very easy for the user to identify the application. It's the same as the App Store. If you go to the App Store and you search for an application, you will find 10, 15 versions, but based on the name of the corporation and the icon, I believe that most of the users will recognize what's the proper application to install. Another thing that we've been playing with is using Azure Active Directory groups for licensing, which means that your Windows 365 license, you add to an AAD group, and then you assign that group to the provisioning policy. So based upon that one, you can actually outsource the work to HR. So whenever they onboard a new person, they just add them to the proper group, and automatically, behind the scenes, the user will get a new Windows 365 instance spun up automatically. And the same goes for when you're removing that user from that group or offboarding that user, then the VM or the cloud PC will be decommissioned. And I've been creating automation scripts for this for our SME, so the system subject matter expert. So the idea here is that since we are migrating so many applications, more than 1,000 applications from SCCM to Intune, first off, I need to make sure that the application is installed. So if the application installs, I'm happy. But we need the SMEs to actually test and make sure that the application is working. So what we have developed is an automated script that will automatically add that SME to the proper AD group, and then the machine will be spun up and also add him to the proper AD group for the software. So when that user connects to his, he will of course get an email. So when he logs into the cloud PC, he gets Autopilot, and then he have the applications that he's the SME for automatically inside of that desktop. So then he gets a couple of days or a week or so on to test that application, and then we'll just decommission that cloud PC, meaning that that license goes back to the pool. So it's kind of as we have in Citrix and VMware and so on, we have concurrent licensing. So it's not named licensing, it's concurrent licensing, because we're basically taking that AD group which is bound to the licensing and just drag them out, and then we decommission that cloud PC. nested groups. So this is something that we have, been playing with. The problem is when you're doing a hybrid environment is that if I create a new AD group on premises or on-prem or whatever you call it, then it will take so long for that to be replicated back to Azure. So that could be 5, 10, 50 minutes. It all depends. So what we've been doing is that we are creating both an Azure group and a local AD group. And then we are nesting those groups because that is now supported. So that way we can instantly add a user to the Azure group. And then the user have instantly access to those applications that we want him to test. And then going forward, when we decide that, okay, we no longer need AD, we're just going to cause a string, then we can use scripting and basically say, okay, take all the users in the local AD group and just put them into the Azure group, and then just remove that AD group from the Azure group. And the Azure group is the group that is linked in Intune, which is the available application or required application for that matter. We're using available. Required is only used for the core application. Security. So if possible, use MFA, use Azure AD Join, and Azure Network when possible. So I'm logging into my cloud PC each and every day using Windows Hello on my local Windows 11 PC, and I go straight into my cloud PC. It's Azure AD Join, but I'm using my on-prem connection because I'm having a site-to-site connection going back to my lab, and I'm going to show that. But especially when you want to do testing of application outside of the business network, you want to have it as secure as possible. So use MFA, Azure AD Join, Azure Network, and then in our case we have VPN going back again to on-prem, so they get access to whatever they need. All right, so demo time. So just to show you that we are walking the talk here, I'm on my Mac OS, connected through Wi-Fi. I have the remote desktop client installed with the preview enabled, which means that this Teams is optimized and it works really, really well. So let's head over to the first demo. So on the first demo, I'm going to show you how to automatically pack an exe. So this is ID 19. So let me connect
Eric,
it.
sorry to interrupt. I mean, I don't know if everyone is able to see the screen that you're presenting, that part, or are we still seeing the presentation?
Oh, cool. Thanks, John. I was having the PowerPoint slide as the center location, but now you should see my screen.
Yep. There you go. Now we're looking.
Okay, cool. So what we have here, we have a basic XML file, which contains the required information to create this application. So as I said, I have the manufacturer, Microsoft Office. In this example, I'm going to show you how to create a language pack, a Norwegian one, the product version. We have a description, setup, exe, and the install string is /configure.install nbno. And the same goes for an installation. And then we have the detection rule that goes to AK local machine nbno. So that's the one that is checking. I also have my AAD software pilot group. I'm the owner. That's what's going to show up. So that being the SME of the application. And then I have the ID. So that just tells where the application is looking for the configuration file. We also have an icon file. So basically, the easiest way to find icon files is to just go to the Twitter account of the company that you're using and just download that image. just make sure that it's like 500 times 500, so that way it works properly on both SSEM and Intune. I believe Intune supports higher, but if you have 600 times 600, then the script will fail because SSEM doesn't support that high. And then I have the source. So in this example, we're using the exe. This is the Office Deployment Toolkit. I have my XML file, so I have one to install. So if you take a look at that, you will see the match install string, language pack, and the ID is NBNO. And you can Google these IDs, you'll find them online. So basically, what I'm going to do is that this application is 2019. I'm just going to paste in the ID there, and then run the script. So what happens now, it's going to automatically upload, it's going to add the modules, it's going to send me MFA so I can properly authenticate. So just to make sure that I'm not lying here, go here, language pack, you see we have only one. And this is really fast. You know, it's a small exe, so it's super quick to upload. And as you can see, all this is live demos. There is no recordings. Hopefully we'll be fine. And I face my phone, approve. Done. And it's adding that AAD group to that application. So now if I go back here, do a refresh, you will see we have Norwegian language pack. For the properties, you will see we have the name, we have the description, publisher, version, the SME of the application. In the notes, we have, you know, the ID of the application, so it's very easy for us to go back. Let's say we have some installation issues. It's very easy for us to find this application among, you know, the 1,500 applications we have because it's there. It's the ID. Then we have the installation, the uninstallation, and the detection rule. And as you can see, this has been added to that group. So in this case, we're just using AAD software pilot. Right. So the next one is easier because we're using an MSI. So MSI is easier than exe because there's less things to worry about. I'm going to show you shortly. Let's go to my notes. That's going to be 24. Let's see, 24. We have the icon. We have XML file. So the cool thing here with MSI is that you will find all this information in the MSI as well. You can actually automatically query this. I don't do that because there's a lot of vendors that doesn't fill out the proper field correctly. So I prefer to go in, add this stuff in here. Most importantly here is the product code. The product code is the one that's going to be used to uninstall. And as you can see, I don't have any uninstall or detection rules here because basically it's the product code that is the detection rule. Now you're going to see a cool thing here because as you can see here, we have the specific MSI installation parameters. We don't have logging and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to see why. So let's do this one. CD back. That was let me just copy that so I don't break it. It's late here in Brazil. So the easiest way for you to find the MSI is to use Master Packager. Master Packager is for free for creating MST files and also for basic editing. Okay, I need to connect the graph again. Let's do that. So again. So as you can see here, I have the product name, I have the version, the manufacturer, I have the product code, and so on. So I highly recommend this product. It's much better than what we used to use back in the day. I don't even remember anymore. But I used to do application packaging, application verification for the Citrix platform for one of the biggest oil companies in Norway, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when SSDN was called SMS. So after that, I went pure Citrix and been doing that for 15 plus years, and I'm back in the game doing applications and doing Windows 365. And I think the thing that Microsoft decided to go persistent with Windows 365 just shows that this is the thing going forward. And we had some chats here the other day on one of our forums, and people were asking about what about antivirus exclusion, and it's like, this is on a regular PC. It's not VDI. It's not the same as VDI. We don't want it to be VDI. It's a PC, just that the PC is accessible from the cloud. And now with the with the offline stuff coming, it's just super awesome. Okay, so we're getting commit there. Okay, log in again. By the way, this is going away soon. The developer of this PowerShell module that we are using is working on app, so you can have single sign-on. That's coming. There is a pull request for it, so I'm just waiting for it to be approved. Approve. Boom. Go here, refresh. And as I said, this is just for demo purposes. But what we are doing in the real world is that, we know that the vendor is Palo Alto, and we know that the name of the product is Global Protect, which means that it will automatically add AAD SW Palo Alto dash Global Protect. And as I said, we didn't add any MSI stuff here. So as you can see, this is the stuff that was in the XML file, and the rest here was added automatically. So this is an MSI, so we know it's MSI. We have the MSI itself. We have all install, reboot, reader suppress, no restart. Do it silently, and we're going to do logging. So we have logging here. The logging in Intune is not the best of the world, so we use this one for MSI. So we can easily go into Windows Temp and just find the log file. Okay, so that was exe, that was MSI, and then I'm going to show you PowerShell. So for those of you that have been working with Intune for a while, might know that there is a limit for Intune packages, which is 8 gigs. So if you need more, just reach out to Microsoft support and just tell them that you have bigger packages. Actually, just tell them that you have Math Lab, and then they will give you more credits, more space. We have 30 gigs. This package is like 25 gigs. Though I couldn't get it to work, even that we had the size expanded. So what I did was to create a PowerShell script that automatically downloads the zip file from my private CDN and the license files and so on and so on. So basically, I'm hosting this on Amazon as free, and then I'm just doing a download. So it works really, really well. But the only thing that you will miss is that you don't get any delivery optimization by using this kind of approach. But as of today, that's a workaround that works. So I can just do that. It's super fast because the package, the Win32 package, only contains the PowerShell script itself. So super fast to upload. So the thing that changes there is that we need to have, the detection rule here. But except from that, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, that's going to show up. Okay, so I'm going to show it when it's finished. So the next example is a loop. So basically what we're having here is that I have a big XML file. So, the ones that I showed you here was one XML file for one product, but I have a big XML file with the products that I want on my GitHub, which means that you can do the same. You can just copy that XML file, put it on your private repo, and then you can just replicate what I've been doing in that script. So, it's like a poor man's patch my PC, but it works. It works really well, in fact. Let me log that in. Approved. Go here. Math Lab. Math Lab. There we go. And we have the app, the icon, and so on. Right. So in this demo, we're gonna use this script. So it's using Patch My PC, Evergreen, and also Winget. So that's the reason why I'm gonna run this script off my Windows 365 PC, because we don't have Winget support on server OS. We only have it on Windows 10 and 11. So let me authenticate graph once again. I love it when this goes away. And then I'm simply gonna run the script. So what happens here is that it goes to the XML file, finds that, okay, this is ShareX. It's using the Evergreen PowerShell module, which will give us the download URL and the latest version. And then it will automatically create that application for us. So what's happening here is, in this example, we are having a folder called Win32. So it downloads the XML file that I told you. If we take a look here, it looks strange if I take a look at that. Just believe me, it has all. Look at that. You can see it has the same applications, notepad, vendor, product, architecture, the Evergreen command needed, display name, description, installer, uninstaller, path, detection, user group, and so on and so on. So it's using that information and then automatically building that app for us. So what it's using here, it's building the application, and then it's also building an update package. And the update package will, do an inventory on machine and see, okay, is ShareX installed? And if the version is below 13.7, then it's going to automatically patch that because it's a required installation. So if we go here, we now go to Windows, ShareX. Okay, as you can see, W365, this is for the demo. So it automatically creates that one, the name, the description, uninstall, installer, detection. This is just available for enrolled devices. As of today, there is no a filter for us to filter on what's installed, and that's the reason why we're using an update package. And this is the same way that Patch My PC works. They have an install package and an update package. And what we're doing here is that we have where's the update package? This is the update package. So as you can see, the update package is required for all devices, but the detection rule is checking the program file ShareX for ShareX, and it's checking if that's greater than or equal to the version that we're running. So based on that, it will automatically patch whatever installation. Doesn't matter if that application was installed by local IT, doesn't matter if that application was installed by the user itself, or if it was installed by SSM, PDQ, or whatever. If Intune detects that there's an earlier version of ShareX below this version, then it will automatically patch that version. As you can see, we are now creating a new application, and this just keeps on going. That's the script. So with that, I will open it up for questions. Are there any questions? Nope. Okay.
Sorry. I've got more question around licensing. How do you license this? Is it included in your E5 SKUs or in your M365 E5s, or how do you, or M5s, or how do you license this?
So what are you talking about? The scripts that I'm showing?
No, the OS.
Oh, the license. So if you go here, you will see that I have license groups, right? So this license group is the one where I have my license assigned. So if you go to that group, there's an option for licenses. And this is where you add your license, right? So as you can see, I have one of one, right? And then you add the members. So it will basically just grab the number of licenses that you have here equals the users that you have here.
Okay.
I wanted to show you this one as well, but I canceled my license, and as you can see, I don't have any license here because this was something that I bought before the company got licenses. I was just testing this, but it works really, really well, and the fact that you can kind of outsource this to HR, or you can do automated application testing for the SMEs, it's just crazy. There's nothing like it. Even though if you go with one of the other EUC vendors, you won't be able to provide a desktop in 15 minutes for them to go in and test this kind of stuff.
Okay, and it's all integrated into the endpoint manager from the looks of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as I said, this session is highly influenced by Intune. That's where I'm spending my day. So yeah.
Okay, and you can obviously apply all the compliance policies and the conditional access policies and all those kind of stuff. You can also apply to this thing. Obviously, yeah. Okay, and sorry, one more question. Don't know if I see the trial subscription is paused on the website.
What's for?
Now, if you go to the website for what was the URL now? I don't have it with me now, but to get a trial for the Microsoft for the Windows 365, it looks like the trials are paused.
Yeah, that would be Christiaan or Juan.
Yeah, they should be available now. We now have the option to do a trial for, I think, the 2x8 should be available. I think we make that available sometime this year.
Okay.
The beginning of the year. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Any other questions before we jump into the next part that we have prepared? All right.
Seems like a nice one.
Well, Eric, I think that was an amazing presentation that you covered. I really enjoyed the demo as well. So kudos on that. And really well, very well defined though.
Thank you, Ron. And we had the luck on our side. There was no, demo ghost, and being live on Windows 365 doing Teams and optimized. For me, it's just amazing how good this kind of stuff works, and all the improvements that's coming. So I'm really excited.
We are as well. Thank you, and I appreciate it. All right, perfect. So we're gonna jump into the last part of the session that is gonna be covering the architecture and management and design for Windows 365. Just want to see that everyone is able to see the screen before I begin.
Yep, can see it.
All right, great. So just go ahead. Perfect. All right, so my name is Juan Sifuentes, and I'm a senior cloud endpoint technical specialist at Microsoft. I cover the HLS region. For those that are not familiar, what HLS means is the healthcare, life and science region. And we have a large team that is solely focused on Windows 365. And since Windows 365 was released, has made a huge impact on most of the workloads that we're dealing on a daily basis. So what I'm going to be covering today is going to be 3 different parts, which is the provisioning methods from an architecture point of view for Windows 365, management design options that are available for managing cloud PCs, and a block series that are steered towards the HLS region that are covering the Windows 365 workload. All right. So first, we're going to jump into the architecture options. So the first part, the first option is the Azure AD Join Microsoft hosted network, right? This is the first design option that I want to say that is the recommended approach that you will take if you're not familiar with cloud PCs. This will deliver a fast experience, a low latency fast experience to your users. Is specifically targeted to for users that are in cross regions or maybe overseas or abroad. Users that are coming from outside the country. You can very well position a provisioning policy for them depending on the closest regions to them based on the locations. So if we add Microsoft to the picture, right? How much is Microsoft covering from this design perspective? It basically is accounting for the whole Windows 365 containerized experience, right? your Windows 365 ecosystem is fully accounted by Microsoft, right? Microsoft is depending on the experience that it is delivering, the overall latency that is being delivered to the user. You don't need to worry about any on-premise dependencies, such as the on-premises resources that the client might need to have in this design. There are no Azure subscriptions or VNet configuration subnets or any additional realms that you need to include into this experience to be delivered for the users, right? Microsoft covers the overall architecture of this design that has been streamed. So with this design, obviously, it's targeted more to cloud users, right? That are most likely will use SaaS-based applications at the same time. But it can also very much integrate with on-premise applications and resources that they might want to gain access, right? And a client basically has the option to deliver a VPN client into the integration, and by giving an access to those apps, resources, any domain layers, the users will benefit as by accessing to these cloud PCs. Now, obviously, VPN is one of those options to deliver that access. There's also many other options, like using maybe a Zscaler as a front end for the application, or maybe also using things like Azure AD Proxy to publish the application to the tenant, so the user can trigger that motion from the cloud PC, right? So a few different options, to deliver access to on-premise applications without integrating a dedicated VNet. The benefit of this design also, I'd like to mention, is that whenever you provision a cloud PC, it usually takes about only 15 minutes to 30 minutes to provision, so it's super fast, the provisioning time. The approach that you want to take on this is that you can upscale really quick by multiple users just being added into a group. That group is associated with the provisioning policy. You can grow very quickly from 500 to 1,000 cloud PCs for your users, right? So very simple, very easy. Like I said, this is like the number one recommended approach that Microsoft advised if you want to get started with cloud PCs. All right, so now we're going to move into option 2. So option 2, what it tells us is basically that at this point now we have a customer that maybe they want to bring their network, right? With a Windows 365 Azure AD join, with Bring Your Own Network, you give the ability to adding that customer network layer architecture for your cloud PCs. So basically, these cloud PCs will be hosted in the customer network, fully accountable for the experience that has been delivered, obviously, right? The overall latency that is being streamed to the users is based upon the network alignment and optimization for these users. So if we see here, we already we can see the areas that Microsoft is covering, right, from the VNet standpoint and the VM, right? So if we start piecing together the things that are going to need from a customer standpoint, obviously the customer is going to need a dedicated Azure subscription, right? A resource or a resource group dedicated where it's going to have a VNet. That's actually another thing that you will want to position. Have a dedicated VNet where you can deploy all your cloud PCs. Obviously, one or many subnets where you will have available IP addresses where you can deploy cloud PCs. It's also another question that comes very often. How many cloud PCs can I deploy? It is based on your availability of your IP addresses, right? You got 5,000 available IP addresses in that subnet, then you can deploy that many, cloud PCs. And also on top of that, we need to have a direct connection to the customer environment. Well, either a site-to-site connection or express route will deliver that access, that relationship back to the cloud PC's devices. So with this option, I guess one of the things that benefits the most, and most of the clients they try to lean towards this design, is because they try to address a multi-layer access view. When they have maybe multiple production VNets, right, or maybe multiple cross-region VNets multi-layer domain access that they want to provide access to their users. Leverage that traditional hub-to-spoke topology in Azure, where they can just have a global peering in between multiple VNets. I mean, there's so many layers that you can add in here, like VNet Manager, right, to control all your VNets and add the Cloud PC VNet as well. You can have monitoring solutions, from Microsoft, or even your existing MBAs from like Palo Alto or anything like that. It's important to recommend as well that for this experience to be fully non-impactful for the user experience is that you want to make sure that you whitelist the Windows 365 IP addresses, the endpoints itself actually, before to prevent breaking the user experience, right? The provisioning time for this is similar as the option 1. The Cloud PCs take between 15 minutes to 30 minutes to provision, as they're also Azure AD join devices. The only difference that the clients get to see the VNIC on their Azure environment, right? So at that point, also, if since it's part of the dedicated VNet, you can go ahead and run reports for consumption base to see how much is that device consuming, which is very little. That's actually another important part to call out, right? The inbound data transfers are completely free. The outbound data transfers are unlimited for express routes, right? So, I'm sure that most of us are familiar with the Azure pricing bandwidth that we have available. The same rules will apply, for a Cloud PC resource. So that's the second design. Like I said, very, very nice design that adding the customer layer network architecture, and they mainly focus on addressing multi-layer access. So now we're moving to option 3, right? And option 3, what tells us is that this design is geared towards more the HLS customers that are dark to cloud. And what I mean by dark to cloud, that customers that are not ready to move to the cloud, that they have been growing so much in an on-premise design, and they don't have plans to leverage some of those cloud solutions like Intune or Microsoft Endpoint Manager or Windows 365, and they have many different reasons, to not to be able to switch to the cloud at a given point. So what option 3 actually helps is to bring their SCCM and MECM environments into a hybrid state, right? And in this hybrid state, they basically can use the existing PC management workloads like application delivery, endpoint security, scripts, collection reports, GPOs, everything that you use today that they haven't expanded, or they have a very well developed environment into the cloud, right? So they can manage the same way the Cloud PCs. So let's see, what do we need, to accomplish this design? So from a customer design, we see that we also need we need an Azure subscription, right? As we saw on the second design, we need a virtual network dedicated to the Cloud PCs, a subnet where you're going to be deploying those Cloud PCs. We also need an on-premise environment where the customer is going to be deploying the Azure AD Connect, which will allow the synchronization of that Cloud PC computer object. Also a domain controller to give line of sight connectivity, and obviously the MECM server. And with that, we obviously gonna need the line of sight connectivity between the domain controllers and the Azure tenant. So as we explore more into this design, the huge benefit here is that these Cloud PCs devices are hybrid domain joined. So what do you mean by that? Most of our customers are using group policies today. Lots of them. There's actually in the HLS region, we see clients that are using over 1,000, 2,000 group policies just to secure Windows experience, right? And they do have plans to move into a more modern approach, steering away from that legacy management, to leverage some of those Intune CSP policies or setting catalogs, security baselines, anything that will allow them to explore and expand their cloud endpoint strategy. So with this design, basically, obviously, we give them the option to bring their environment to a hybrid state, use what they have today, continue to leverage what they have, and explore to adopt a more modern management approach. So as far as provisioning times, it can depend anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes. It's fully depending on the Azure AD Connect server, because the server is the one that is synchronizing the changes to the cloud. So depending how the schedule is sync time scheduling is defined, what is by default 30 minutes. Some of them they extend it to 60 minutes, even to 90 minutes. It will be depending on that, how fast the cloud PCs can be provisioned, right? And another important thing to call out on this design is also that this is specifically geared to hybrid users only. So only hybrid Azure AD users can benefit from this design. The other two design applies to either Azure AD Cloud only or synchronized Azure AD, right? But in this design, only the hybrid Azure AD users can benefit from this approach. All right. Before we jump into the management options, are there any questions from either of the three designs that I covered? All right, I'll take silence as a no. So now we're going to look at the management options for each of those three designs, right? How do we manage those cloud PCs? So first we look at option one that I believe we're very much aware as far as what are options here, right? This is fully managed by Microsoft. It's hosted in the Microsoft network. The cloud PCs are hosted in the cloud, and it will be managed by the cloud. So let's see if we add here Intune to the picture. That's it. That's all we need, right? For the Intune experience to be added and to control these cloud PCs, it's just basically an out-of-the-box experience. There's nothing really that you need to do when that cloud PC gets provisioned. Automatically out of the box is managed by Microsoft Intune. So this is obviously one of the recommended approaches to start from a management standpoint for your cloud PCs, because it's a seamless experience. And obviously the benefit from this is that your cloud PCs have a direct unified endpoint management integration from a single pane of glass within your Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal, right? You can leverage many different SaaS cloud services solutions, such as your Windows 365 cloud PC, being your cloud PC solution, your Microsoft Intune, being your PC management solution, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, your security solution, and even Azure AD Conditional Access, as the brains of the operation of your zero trust architecture. So a lot of benefits, from this design just by leverage Microsoft Intune. From a simplicity standpoint, all this PC management workloads that exist in Intune become available for the cloud PC. Remember that cloud PC, Windows 365 Cloud PC is just another blade inside of a MEM, right? Or Intune, as we call it. It's just it becomes another blade within the portal, so it's baked already within the experience. So any of those application delivery, endpoint security, report analytics, security baseline, PC management, device management profiles, CSP policy, anything like that becomes available for the cloud PC. So from this design and using the Intune route is very easy. It's very simple. There's nothing really to add. But however, you do have the option to add co-management as well. So let's see what we need to do, to add co-management. So let's say that you want to position co-management, and I'm sure that somebody will ask, why would you go with the co-management route, right? It is supported and it's available. Like I said, in the HLS space, we have a lot of clients that they have huge, very well developed SCCM environments, right? We're not talking just one server or two servers, multiple sites, different locations, even in the cloud. So it's not we're not different to find those environments that are very well extended. So obviously the customer, either whether they have or not, they will need to have a makeup environment created, and also a cloud management gateway, right? The cloud management gateway is the solution that you will use to target these internet-based devices, because at the end of the day, these Azure AD devices, Azure AD Cloud PC devices, don't have a direct connection to your network, right, to your on-premise network. So therefore, you're going to need to have that cloud management gateway to deliver that CM client through to the cloud PCs. Obviously, there's a few components that you need to keep in mind, and I will make it part of the deck available where you can just follow those links at the end of this conversation. But there's a few considerations that you need to have before you go with that design. But it is possible. So it's for you to choose in between the two solutions and see which one fits better, how you would target your cloud PCs with this design. All right, now we go into option 2. What are options for option 2? So option 2, we know that this is like we saw before, this is hosted in the Microsoft network. We know the Linux are fully hosted in the Azure subscription. There is a direct established connection with the customer environment. Either we're using a site-to-site or an express route. Okay, how can we add Intune into the picture? And as well, the same way as option 1, Intune is an out-of-the-box experience. These are Azure AD Join Cloud PCs that are the PCs are hosted in the customer network, but managed in the cloud, right? Managed in the Microsoft Intune, by Microsoft Intune solution. I will say that this will be considered the optimal experience, from a device management standpoint for this option 2 design, because like I said, it's a seamless process. You don't need to add anything to it. The devices are already automatically managed by Intune, and similar as option 1, you can have a direct integration with from a single pane of glass within your Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal for all the other cloud solutions, right? Like the ones that I mentioned before. And even though it gives you that elasticity for your cloud PC remote management needs, like reprovisioning, restoring points, resizing, even remote assistance to provide assistance to a user that is in a cloud PC. So very, very, very simple, very nice approach from a PC management standpoint to control your cloud PCs using the Intune realm. But what if we need to add co-management to the picture? So obviously we need a few components for co-management to make that happen. So as we can see here, we need to have obviously a makeup environment, right? Or SCCM, I'm sorry. We need to have a dedicated server or multiple servers, whichever the case may be. That, like I said, this is gearing towards those customers that they have a very well-developed SCCM environment, and they want to take advantage of those workloads that they have been growing for years and use that to target their cloud PCs. They can. Now, you notice here that Cloud Management Gateway is grayed out. The reason behind that is because CMG is technically optional in this case. Now, I explain why. Like I mentioned before, CMG is used to target those internet-based devices, the devices that are not within your network, because these Azure AD Join devices don't have a direct connection to your Active Directory environment. However, in this design, we do have a dedicated site-to-site or express route connection. So technically, we can use this tunnel to deliver that CM client and enable co-management experience just using the MECAM server. So we don't need to rely on this CMG to do that. Now, obviously, if clients already have CMG on the picture, then obviously they can leverage that into deliver the CM client through Intune for the cloud PCs. But in this case, you can just leverage the Makeup environment to establish that management route using that BNet using that tunnel connection that we have, and use Intune to deliver that CM client either as a Win32 app or a line of business application. And in fact, if you're looking to learn how to do that, we actually have some guidance that we develop on how to achieve that. So I'm gonna post it real quick on the chat where you can deliver a CM client using a line of business application or a Win32 app. So obviously, it's available. It's an option. Customers will benefit from this approach, like I mentioned before, because they can use existing PC management workloads for an Azure AD join device. All right, now moving into option 3. Option 3, like I mentioned, is geared more towards customers that are not ready to move to the cloud. They're not using any cloud solutions at the moment. They need to control the devices as they do today through the traditional domain join approach, right? GPOs and administer the templates, relying on the on-premise architecture. So how can we add here a PC management solution that will benefit the customer and also from a seamless perspective without adding too many components, right? So like I said, this will be probably target specifically more for clients that already have SCCM environments. So it is obviously beneficial for them to start maybe with co-management, right? So what do we need if we try to enable co-management here? So obviously we need a Makeup environment, SCCM server already in place, and that's all we need to go achieve co-management, right? That will establish that co-management route back to Intune, and clients will be able to use their existing SCCM environment to control this cloud PC's hybrid Azure AD join. Remember, this hybrid Azure AD join devices have a direct relationship back to Active Directory. So they need to have always a line of sight connectivity back to the domain controllers. They rely on group policies and administrative templates. So today, the way that they're using this PC management workloads through SCCM, they can target the same way for those Cloud PC Azure AD join devices. So I guess the benefit here in this design, for using co-management is that customers can scale up, right? They can scale up and transition some of those co-management workloads to Intune as needed. Actually, I'd like to mention one thing that I forgot to cover in the previous design on option 2 is if you end up going with the co-management route for option 2, and you want to target, your Cloud PCs Azure AD join devices, I will suggest that maybe move most of your workloads to the cloud, so Intune can cover all that PC management area and keep the application delivery workload through your SCCM. Because I know that we have a lot of clients that they use, they have very large amount of applications that are being triggered through SCCM, and maybe you want to keep that, right? Maybe you want to keep that and until eventually you transition that to Intune. But at least move all the PC management workloads so you can give Intune more control to manage that Azure AD join device through setting catalog security baselines and CSP policies. Now moving back into the option 3 design with co-management in place for a hybrid Azure AD join device, obviously we don't need to do that, right? Because SCCM will benefit more to target the Azure AD join device using the existing policies instead of leveraging Intune for like CSPs or setting catalogs. I'm not saying that it can't be accomplished, but customers, they already have that very well developed, and that's how they use it today. So they don't need to extend that capability. Like I said, the benefit here is to help them to explore, help them to scale into the cloud without pushing them to move to the cloud, right? I guess one important thing to call out from this design is that if you're using by any chance the client push that is automatic, if AD system discovery and client push is enabled, make sure that the OU where your cloud PCs are sitting be excluded from the discovery. And you want to make sure that you deploy the CM client after the cloud PC gets provisioned. That's an important call out, and I'll make a reference at the end of this session. What about if we don't have ACCM, right? You're saying, Juan, you're saying that this is targeted more like to customers that are not ready to move to the cloud. But what about customers that they're already using today group policies to target their domain joined devices, but they don't have ACCM? Maybe they're using a third-party MDM solution. Maybe they want to leverage the cloud PC. What are the options? So obviously they can use Intune as well, right? And Intune it's an out-of-box experience as well, because the cloud PC, even though they're hybrid domain joined, is still going to be automatically enrolled into Intune. So they can technically use Intune to deliver that PC management experience to those hybrid domain joined devices. But you got to keep in mind something very important that, like I mentioned before, a few considerations as far as this hybrid domain joined cloud PC is that Azure AD Connect must be configured for hybrid domain joined. Hybrid Azure AD join cloud PCs are directly attached to your on-premise Active Directory environment, and Active Directory environment relies on group policy objects. At the same time, GPOs leverage administrative templates. So at some point, the delivery experience that you're associating through Intune for those cloud PCs hybrid domain join, you're gonna reach a gap at some point where you're gonna rely on GPOs again, right? Because they're directly attached to your Active Directory environment. So it is important to if you're just starting in to grow or piloting POC in the Windows 365 experience, and you're not using SCCM today, I would strongly suggest that you look at option 2 or even option 1 as your very beginning point, right? Option 3, like I said, is more geared to customers that are already very well developed on SCCM environment. And lastly, I want to leave you with the blog series. So we have a team on the HLS region. Actually, one of them is already joining this call as well. And we've been working together on trying to come up with a way to make the content available for our customers in the HLS space, where they can benefit from this, discussions around architecture, management design, anything that it can solve a business use case on their realm. So we started working on this HLS blog series that are specifically targeted to Windows 365 cloud PCs. And as you see, there's going to be a few different blogs that are resemble to what I'm sharing today. So like the architecture design provisioning option is included there, along with the management design options as well, or even deploying the CM client to Windows 365. And likely we just released another one that is deploying management collections for Windows 365. So follow up the link that I posted right there on chat for if you want to learn more about Windows 365 for the HLS region. And there's a whole list of business use cases that business scenarios that we're trying to validate, and we're going to be exploring and adding more content as we grow into the series. And that brings us to the end, to the questions. That's pretty much for today what I needed to cover. I don't know if anybody has specific questions that I can answer. Yes, the recording will be available after this. We're pretty much at the end of the session, Luis. So yes, after this, we'll make the recording publicly available.
No question from my side, but thank you very much. That was very insightful.
Awesome. Yeah, great to hear that, Vinny. I appreciate it. All right. Anybody has any additional questions or from anything that we covered today that we can help? Thank you, Morgan. Appreciate it. All right. So, I'm glad that you guys were able to join this session. Like I said, I will go ahead and stop presenting at the moment, and also I'll request for Christiaan to stop the recording too. We'll make this recording available sometime today, sometime tonight. Good evening for everyone. I know that most of you guys are coming from Europe, so it's very late for you guys. So I appreciate it joining. Look forward to another session. Thank you.